Hey, everybody. Hey. I was just over on Instagram telling everybody that we were going live over here so that everybody knew and we could all hang out together. I'm going to shut my my mail so it does not ping. How is everybody? Let me check in. Hi, Glenn and Patrick and Nisa and Vanessa, Brittany, Lord Voldemort. I love it. Hey, Christy, Tatanka, and Vanessa. Hello. Hey, Leah. Hey, Katie K. So, yeah, what's happening? How are you guys doing? Thank you so much for all of the support. I was just saying this over on IG. It really means the world to me that you guys have pre-ordered and that your books are arriving and that you're able to show them. She turned out so pretty. And I actually matched my shirt to her on purpose because that's who I am now. But if any of you were able to, if you're in the States and you order yours through Talk Shop Live, do you guys remember I did that live stream? The book plates will be placed right inside here. And it'll be signed. I signed a bunch of them, usually XOXO with hearts and all that jazz, because you know me. So yeah, hi, Daphne. Hey, everybody. Pradeep. Hello. So yeah, I'll answer any of your questions. If you have some questions to ask about, I know we will see how it goes with the new pup. She just went potty. She's a good girl. And she is sleeping on her little, see how the curtains pulled up? And that's actually spray for when she goes in the bath, goes potty in the house, because she's just a little baby and she's still learning. So anyway, she's laying over there. She's all snoozing. But yeah, if you guys don't know, Sean and I just got a new puppy. Her name is Roxy. She's kind of like a bull terrier pit bull mix. We're not really sure. She's a rescue, so Lord knows. But I was just talking to another member of our community. I'm definitely going to do the DNA swab for her because I'm that kind of dog mom. I want to know. Thanks, Scott. Yeah, it's been a lot, and it's funny. I was telling Sean, I was like, probably not the best time to like rescue a puppy, but I couldn't help it. She was too cute, and you get to looking on the rescue sites, and then you're a goner. Even though we had we just moved, not all our furniture. I've ordered furniture, but everything's back ordered because COVID and stuff. And then with the book launch and everything, I'm like, probably could have waited, but who can wait on a dog like that? Oh, Jalissa, do you live in Austin? I would love for you to help us. We are trying to train her as best as we can, but any assistance would be very, very appreciated. Okay. Oh, Vanessa, how are you? Actually, to be truthful, I'm looking forward to a break. We're taking a break in October. I'm not really sure which week yet, but I've needed it. I mean, I'm doing fine. I'm doing, fine is the appropriate word. When people ask you how you're doing, you're like, I'm fine, because you're not. It's not that I'm doing horribly, but I'm definitely overworked right now. And then with the puppy and training, I wasn't even thinking about it. I was just so excited just to have her. I've been pretty tired because I'm having to get up at you guys know me, I'm not a morning person. So I've had to get up at 7 or 8 and take her out right away. She's a good girl. She sleeps in her crate, but it's been a lot. And I think we're all feeling that in general too. And things going into lockdown again, and then out of lockdown. And then we don't know if we can get to Canada to visit my husband's family. Life, #life, right? But I am doing okay. I've been trying to take better care of myself, making sure that I unplug at night and I go to bed earlier, and I'm trying to eat, more well-rounded meals and not just order pizza all the time. Just stuff to take care of myself. Oh, you're in Washington State, Jalissa? Oh, yeah. Damn. If you were super close, that would be awesome. But anyways, I'm human too. And if you're in it, know that I'm in it. But it'll get better. And tonight, Sean and I want to celebrate the fact that the book is out. Because actually the biggest bummer to me with COVID, which again, I know people have it worse. This is not a comparison thing. This is just a bummer for me. The biggest bummer is I wanted to do a book tour. I already had cities that I wanted to go to. And then even we were thinking, oh, maybe I'll do a little, I don't know, an event, where I talk for a little bit, I sign some books, we do some activities, I answer questions. I wanted to do something like that and hit up, 10 to 15 cities in the world. I wanted to go places, and then we can't. So know that I will still want to do that. And I will, we'll still try to do some kind of show. Would you guys be interested in a show? I don't know. You guys let me know, but, oh, Pradeep, that's a good question. I'll get to that in just one second. Oh, Amarillo, Texas, April. It's one of my favorite songs by George Strait, Amarillo by Morning. So the most difficult chapter to write The most interesting, but took the most research is, I forget which number it is, but it's the one about trauma memories. So give me 1 second and I'll tell you exactly what it is. Chapter 9 what required the most work on my part. And then probably the hardest is, I don't know. I guess some of it is like talking about the transgenerational trauma was kind of hard. I don't even know if hard is the right word. It was very interesting to research. Honestly, everything was super interesting, but probably, I don't know. They're all tricky, you guys. This book took a lot of effort and a lot of energy. I guess I'd probably say the science of trauma memories was the hardest because I'm not a neuroscientist or a neurologist. I had to do a shitload of research to make it make sense and to also make sure that it was as accurate as possible. So I'd say chapter 9. Yeah. Jalissa, I do share, just like I did, if anybody's read my first book, Are You Okay? I should have had it out here too. But if you read my first book, you know that I do share like personal stories about things that I've been through. And I do the same in here. Because this is trauma focused, I personally don't have a ton of trauma in my life. I mean, thank God, right? I haven't had a ton of trauma. However, Sean brought it. This is my first book. Have you seen her? She's not quite as pretty as my second, but I love her all the same. She's my first. Anyway, what was I saying? Now I lost my train of thought. Because I know the stories. Yes. Yeah, my first book. This is my first book. This is my second. But anyway, so there are personal stories in here, but I don't have quite as many just because not all of it is something I can speak to. And that's why I reached out to our amazing audience and they shared a lot of like what dissociation feels like. I do have an experience in my own life with like dissociation and times that I definitely know I was traumatized, and I share that in here, and I haven't really talked about that publicly, I don't think. But yeah, I do share some, but really kudos to the community because it's because of them that this was able to come to fruition. Okay, now, someone had a question. Oh, how did I make the cover? And I think Pradeep, you had a question about how to stay hopeful. Hold on, let me answer your question. You've been very patient. So hold on 1 second. Let me scroll and try to find it. How do I feel hopeful during a hopeless situation? To be honest, when we feel completely hopeless, it helps. There's 2 things I do. Number 1, I focus on the things I can change. Instead of what our brain wants to do is focus on the things we can't, right? It goes through all the things that can't get better or haven't gotten better, and the things that we cannot do, what can we do? And it might not even be focused on that issue, right? But one thing we can do is not talk trash to ourselves, not ruminate on the things we can't change, right? There are things we can do. And so do that. And then the second is distract. As my audience knows, I always say distract like a motherfucker, meaning get a bunch of different things you can do, whether you go for a walk around the block, you pet your dog, you take a shower, you organize something, you watch your favorite show. We can do any sort of thing to get our mind off of it, because otherwise we just continue to focus and ruminate on it. And the book, okay, so Kaylee wanted to know how I created the cover. I really apologize for that. Oh, hey, Sadie girl, I was wondering how you're doing down there, and hope you're okay with all the flooding and stuff. You've been on my mind lately. But with the cover, I was just drawn to, there was another book, I forget what it was called, but it came out and it looked like nail polish splotched. I think it was by someone by the name of Glenn, something that like Untamed, I think it's called. Anyway, I love the kind of look of it. And I had told, of course, Pradeep, and I had told my editor, I was like, hey, I love this cover. If there's a way we can make it similar, but I want it to be a little bit different. I want it to feel more like trauma, like, and instead of the drip, like the blotches of it. And so he came up with a couple versions, and then I wanted this color. I like oranges and reds and pinks. You guys know me. Yeah, Glennon Doyle. Yes, thank you guys. Thank you. Anyway, and so that's kind of how it came to fruition. And then you work with a designer kind of with, I don't want to say kind of, I believe they are a designer, and all they do are like book covers. And so they sent over some mock-ups, and then I picked this one and changed some of the colors and changed like where it was on the book. And yeah, and here it is. Mandy, good question, says, when will the audiobook be ready? I can't wait. So I heard from my publisher today that, and I wondered about this, you guys, because they did not ask me to record my audio as early in the process as they did with my first book. This was like 6 months before it went out. I was like already doing this. So anyway, it will not be released today. They're actually releasing it tomorrow. And they said, depending on whoever you get your audiobooks through, whether that's Audible or I don't even know, any other audiobook platform out there, because there's a zillion, it can take them up to 24 hours, up to a week to publish it. So I know somebody told me on Instagram Live that they had heard that theirs was going to be released on the 12th. So we got a few days, right? So today's the 7th. So, that's like 5 days later. So it will be out soon, like ASAP. And it's me doing it, obviously. Like you guys know, I always said it's either going to be me or Morgan Freeman. That's the only other option. Okay, cool. Abby's letting us know she pre-ordered on Amazon and it came today. So you should get it today. Yes. The only delay is going to be for my people in other parts of the world, in the UK and Australia and places like that. I know that it's not going to be there, I don't believe, until the 20th or 21st. Yay, Desiree gets here tomorrow. Woo woo. Oh, Rivka, that's a great question. So did you ever consider writing under a pseudonym? I've never thought about that, but that would be fun if I'd like tried to get into like fiction writing, because this is nonfiction, right? These are all like educational based books. But that, yeah, maybe. What would be my pen name? Is that what you call it, right? Your pen name? Thank you, Jessica. Says Audible's releasing on the 14th. That's super helpful. So thank you. Yeah, it's not on Audible yet. I'm so sorry. That it should, like I said, they're releasing it tomorrow instead of today. So you guys, you let me know. Like, you leave in the comments of this live stream if you have any issues, and reach out to whoever you purchased the Audible version from so that they can remedy that for you. But hopefully it'll be coming out really, really soon. Tina has a good question. Says, do you have any specific exercises to do in your chapters? Yes, I have a ton of them. There's like a ton of questionnaires. So answer this. And if you've answered yes to 2 or more, then this is something you're struggling with. I have a ton of those. Then I have, I think it's, I'll find it here and show it to you. I also added in the impulse log. For those of you who have been following me for a long time, you know how much I love the impulse log. And so I added it in so that you can utilize it on your own. And obviously you can write in the book if you want, or you can just copy and put it into your own kind of journal. And before I get to that, there are key takeaways, like I said, at the end. And that kind of helps pull everything together, because I know that sometimes educational books, especially mental health educational books, can be a little overwhelming and it's a lot to digest. Like, I love Brené Brown, but I cannot read her books like straight start to finish because I like can't remember it and I can't stay with it. Does that make sense? Anybody else agree with that? Here. So here's your impulse log. See, it runs across both pages. My editor, Dan, did such a great job with this, because I was like, I don't know how to make this fit. And I explain like how to do it and how to use it. And so there's a ton of stuff like that throughout the book. And that's my hopeful, I know wouldn't Morgan Freeman be awesome as an audiobook. But anyway, so hopefully it helps keep you focused. It helps this be like a useful tool that you can come back to, that you can go, you don't have to go in order in the book, although I do build on things. Just like with Are You Okay? You can kind of pop in and pop out as you need. Yeah, Proxy, you can buy it now. So I hope that you like it. I hope you find it helpful. Yeah, I hope it's really great. Tear all the pages apart. Yeah, you can if you want. However it helps for you to use it. Will this book come out in paperback? I don't know, BJ, that's a great question. I know these seem like hardback, but these are called, what do they call it? It's like paper on cardboard. So they're not like, it doesn't have a cover. You know how like hardbacks have that loose cover that's so annoying and that comes off and then underneath is like nothing. I just do the paper on cardboard. Oh, Brittany. Yeah, we got the Audible version, but yeah, sometimes it's nice to have like a tangible book. I get that too. But yeah, the hard covers have those extra things. And this is like paper on cardboard, which is supposed to be more eco-friendly. Good question. I don't know. All good questions. Yeah, dust jackets. Yes, Christine. Yes. So smart. Thanks, Glenn. Yeah, I love the cover. I just am so excited about it. Dickhead, that's quite the name you've got there, says how to understand which illnesses you have. To be truthful, the best way to know what potential mental health issue or mental illness you're struggling with is to see a professional. I have a ton of videos on my channel where I walk through the diagnostic criteria, meaning what symptoms we're looking for in order to diagnose you. So you can check those out and that can help. But to ensure that we're actually getting a proper diagnosis and not making our own assumptions or, just because someone said it, then we believe it to be true. It can be sometimes hard to tease that out. It's really best to see a counselor, a therapist, a social worker, a psychologist, some mental health professional, a psychiatrist, to see someone in your area. And there's a ton of online resources too if you guys are still in lockdown or don't feel comfortable. I get it. You can go into BetterHelp or Talkspace or just, ask any of your local therapists if they do online sessions, because everybody does right now. Okay, Christina P. Oh, where can you buy my book? Sussy, you can buy it anywhere books are sold. Amazon. Do you have Amazon in Sweden? I'd assume so, but somebody just the other day told me they didn't have Amazon in Norway, I think it was. And I was like, what? But on Amazon, Target, or even your local bookstores, you can go to your local library. If you can't afford it, it's completely okay to go to your library and ask, hey, can you guys, because they have a budget for books each and every year. So if you're like, hey, could you get me one of these? I really would like that. Your library can get those for you. Gotta love the library, right? I think that's always wonderful. Okay, let me see. There was another question I was going to answer. Oh, Christina P says, which is so funny. My good friend her name is Christina P. Says, not sure if this is in your book. It's specific. I've had 2 therapists say that being adopted is trauma, even though I was only 8 months old. That is true. 2 others have said no. Do you have any thoughts on this? Yeah, I believe adoption can be a trauma. Just like anything in life, it all stems from our ability to cope. Like I was saying in my video that I posted on Instagram today, we can become traumatized by many different issues. It could be like our parents getting divorced, could be a trauma to me and not to my brother, right? And the reason for that is because of our level of resilience, meaning our ability to take in the information or whatever's happening, process it, and be okay. Everybody has different levels of resilience. And I know you're thinking like, well, I was 8 months old. Like, how much resilience could I have? Well, now in your life now, you can think about it and be like, I'm fine with it. It's okay. I've processed it. I've talked about it. Maybe we know our parents, the ones that gave birth to us, or maybe we don't, and maybe we've processed through that. Like, it's all about you and how you feel in relation to it. Definitely adoption can be a trauma. That's not me overreacting. That's not you overreacting. That's just the truth, because it's a huge adjustment. We are losing our birth parents, and that can be stressful and overwhelming. Therefore, it could be a trauma. Does that make sense? Yeah. Oh, Courtney, you can get a signed copy by ordering my book through my Talk Shop Live. I'll see if Sean can put a link into it. Maybe Sean can share the link if he gets a second. Yeah, through the Talk Shop Live link. He might not have it. I posted about it on the community page or the community tab over here. So there's a link there, and I'll see if we can get maybe someone can post it for me. Pretty please. Christy says hello. Of course, Christina. So, okay. Charlie Does Film says, how do you know if you have a mental health issue underlying or if it's just you processing through your trauma? I'm 18 and I think I may have BPD and PTSD, but I don't know. So honestly, if we're processing through trauma in general, I would say that is a mental health issue, because PTSD is a mental illness. It's a diagnosable and treatable mental illness. And so I would argue that they're actually one and the same. Now, I know we always think that like, oh, I have a mental health issue or I have a mental illness. That means I'm like debilitated or I can't do things in my life. Many of us we are able to function even though we're still going through stuff like that. That's just the stigma people give to it, is that if we have a real mental illness, we aren't able to participate in life. But I'm here to tell you that you can, and you may be processing through the trauma, meaning we have a mental illness or an underlying mental health issue, but we're still just doing our best and we're able to get by and to manage our life. That means our level of resilience is just a little bit higher than someone maybe who can't do that. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Maggie says, can you get over trauma without truly processing it through in therapy? The interesting thing, Maggie, is yes. So I learned doing research for this book that talk therapy doesn't work for about 40%, or no, 60% of people, 40% it does work. So 60% of us through just talk therapy, we're not going to feel any better. It's not going to be enough. We might feel somewhat better, but we need something else to help us get resolution of our symptoms, meaning that we might need something like EMDR, where you like do this bilateral stimulation, this left to right. We can also maybe need some medication, or maybe we need a different style of therapy. Like there are things like, somatic experiencing, where through movement we heal from trauma. Or it could even be things, and I talk about this in the book too, is like things that are more medical based, like vagus nerve stimulation. Remember our vagus nerve? That's like, it's the longest nerve in our body, and it affects our mental health. I had a patient in the hospital years ago who was super suicidal for years. Nothing would fix it. Nothing would help, not therapy, not medication. And she got a vagus nerve, a little stimulator. They implant it kind of around her collarbone, changed her life. So that's an option as well. And then there are other treatments. My friend Alexa is actually doing research right now, and part of the research of finding ways to use psilocybin, which is kind of what makes magic mushrooms magic, and finding like microdosing ways for people to heal. So there's a lot of stuff coming through the pipeline and things that they're researching that could be beneficial. It doesn't mean we have to be in therapy talking it out and process it all through. We find that you don't always have to do that. Yeah, Amy Ray says she did brain spotting and it worked for me. That's wonderful. I'm so, so glad. Yeah, and VNS is also used for seizure control. 100%, Courtney, you are correct. And AE Catnips 789 says, have you had any patients go on beta blockers? If so, did they help? Yes, I have. I've had, I don't even know how many, but yes, it's been super beneficial. A lot of times it's worked, and this is just in my experience. Again, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a physician, just a therapist speaking about my patients' experience that I've seen. For my patients who struggled with side effects of other medications, beta blockers seem to do the trick. They seem to be the one thing that could help resolve. And it's usually for my like really severely depressed patients, or I had this one patient who's struggling extensively with panic attacks. It's been very beneficial for them. But ask your doctor about any side effects and what you should look out for so that you are prepared. Okay. Yeah, of course. I'll try to get as many questions. I know that there's so many questions and I can't get through them all, but I'm doing my best. So, Monica says there's a show on Hulu called Perfect Strangers talking about microdosing. I hate that. I hate when shows talk about something that we don't actually know that enough about. And I don't want them to like give it a bad name before we know, right? We don't want to say no before we have all the information. So frustrating. Pedro, I do talk about eating disorders in here throughout. Says, will you talk about eating disorders developed by traumas in your book? Yes, I talk about it, pretty much how it relates, and the fact that eating disorders are a coping skill and how they can, we try to use them to cope. Same with like, I talk about self-injury a lot in here, suicidal thoughts, depression, anxiety, shopping addiction, gambling, also drug and alcohol addiction. I talk about all of that stuff in here because I think it's really important for us to understand, why we do it and how it connects, Vanessa says, if trauma is the root of our mental health issues, does that mean we have PTSD-like symptoms in addition to the mental health issues? It can. Now, here's the tricky thing. Being traumatized or having a trauma doesn't necessarily mean that we develop PTSD, because again, PTSD is based in the DSM and, the diagnostic criteria and meeting these certain symptoms, right? And we may not meet all that criteria, but we can still have some symptoms, right? We can have like 4 out of the 5, and we have to have 5 to be diagnosed, but that doesn't mean that we don't still experience it. And so let me look. Sorry, okay. If trauma is the root of the root, does that mean we'll have PTSD? Yeah, in addition. Yes, we can. We can have PTSD in addition to depression, anxiety, borderline personality disorder. Unfortunately, yes. And someone asked how much it costs to ship to Europe. It's already going to be there, and the cost for shipping should not be any more than anything else you buy in Europe. I know that my publisher sent out the books to Europe. like last week or something, or 2 weeks ago. And so they're supposed to arrive this week and then be shipped out to you guys. So that's why they won't be available for a little bit longer, because just printing and shipping takes time. But it shouldn't cost you any more. And I think you can purchase this in the UK through Amazon, and I'd assume they offer it for free. You guys let me know if shipping's not for free over there. But hopefully it is. Oh, yay, Diana says she just bought the Kindle edition. Whoop, whoop. Can't wait to read it. I hope it's helpful. Okay. And let me see. Oh, it says later today. Wonderful, Danny. That's awesome. Can you have it in Pakistan? I would assume so. I've been told by my publishers, because we had an issue like in 2018 when this came out. Many of you in places like, I want to say it was like Sweden, Pakistan, different parts of the world couldn't get a copy. And we were very upfront about it with my publisher ahead of time. So it should be available worldwide. And even after Are You Okay came out, I know that we sold the rights so that they can produce it in another language and have it there. We did it in Chinese. I think it was Romanian. There were like 2 others. Israel. So it's in Hebrew. So hopefully it's available where you're at in a language that you prefer, so that you can, get what you need. Oh, Sean just put the link in as me.
Yeah, I think that link should redirect people to their appropriate country.
Okay, wonderful. Sean posted the link. He signed in as me. Do you see my name there? It says try this link, and he said it should redirect you based on location. So B, if you're worried about the Philippines, you can click that link and it should let you know where it is and available for you there. But it should, from what I've been told, if you are unable to get it, again, let us know in those comments and I will ping my editor and try to do all I can to make sure you can get it. But it's supposed to be available worldwide. Okay. Oh, Maggie just got her copy. Yay. Any general advice for someone looking to write a book? Okay. And Aisha, that's a great question too. I'll answer that next. So my advice is spend time in the early process. A lot of times, like, I don't know why I thought this, but I thought like you sit down to write a book and you just like try to start. I don't know why I thought that, but I did. And after writing 2, I have to tell you that you are so grateful to past you for putting together like a proposal, which is like breaking down the chapters. What are your goals for the book? What do you want included in each chapter? You get in a ton of details about it, and then pulling research. Like I ordered a shitload of books so that I could read about things like trauma bonding, trauma timelines, somatic experiencing, schema therapy. I talked to a lot of colleagues and took a ton of notes, and I did a bunch of research and reading in preparation so that when I sat down to actually do the writing, which is hard enough on its own, I wasn't having to stop in the middle and then read like 5 chapters of this book and then try to come back. And so my best advice is spend your time in kind of like the pre-production phase of it, figuring out, how many chapters, and that will change too. The chapters, I had proposed 10 and I think there's 15. Is there 15 in here? So it ended up being a lot more because I had a lot more to say. Yeah, 15. So just spend your time early on. It'll make it easier for you later. And Aisha, you'd asked what the, hold on, let me see. What the inspiration to write this book. Honestly, it's all of you. I cannot thank our community enough. First of all, you all are just lovely in the comments, and you've always been so lovely. And I was talking with someone just the other day. She was asking how I got started on YouTube, and do any of you remember those days when I used to be able to respond to every question on Tumblr and every comment on YouTube? You guys, I can't believe it's been 10 years, but it used to be that way. And it's through all of those conversations and all of the things you each have shared that this book came to be. Because I think, unfortunately, through like all of my training and even in my years I spent working in eating disorder treatment centers, I never realized just how common trauma was. I knew it was connected to eating disorders and I knew that it happened, right? But I think through talking with all of you over these years, I've realized that I honestly believe like at least 90% of us have been traumatized, if not 100%. And now within the wake of COVID-19 and everything that the shit show of 2020, 2021 has been, I think we've all been traumatized. And so that's really where the inspiration came from, was I think it's more common, and I want to try to start that conversation so more people can talk about it and realize that they have been traumatized and get the help that they need. And yeah, hey, OTDM family. I saw Christy saying hi. If you guys don't know, my husband, Sean, and I have a podcast. It's just a total goof. If you ever need a good laugh or want to laugh at someone or with someone, whatever you want, I don't care. You can check out Opinions That Don't Matter. Yes, Anne says, she asked, does the book also talk about CPTSD? And Danny likes pizza. Yes, trauma does suck, and I'm sorry. But there's an entire chapter. So chapter 5, what is repeated trauma, CPTSD, and how it's different? And then chapter 6, are we sure it's complex PTSD? Because and you can see the chapters here. This is the first 13 of them. I don't know if you can read it, or is it backwards? It might be backwards. Oh, it's good. Okay. But anyway, I break down like some of the misdiagnoses. A lot of people will get misdiagnosed as having borderline personality disorder or bipolar disorder or depression or something when it's really complex PTSD. And so I tease that out and break that down for all of you. Oh, good. So I'm glad that you enjoy the podcast. Yay. Oh, thanks, Neurotransmissions. It's so good to see you here. If you guys don't know, Neurotransmissions has a wonderful channel on YouTube as well. And yeah, so I hope you enjoy the book. Thank you. Okay, let's see what else. Yeah, I hope you enjoy it, Danny. I hope the book is helpful. Yes, of course, Rochelle. I think it's great. Do you guys want me to walk you through the chapters? Is that helpful? Do you want me to tell you? Oh, Julie Bikes, that's a great question. What about self-diagnosis? Now, I believe that self-diagnosis is helpful because we are the experts on our experience. However, with like self-diagnosis with a professional opinion is best, because when we diagnose ourselves, excuse me, I had to say at lunch. When we diagnose ourselves, we often don't know fully what we have to be looking for. And someone who is trained and educated in the psychology field can a lot of times give more information about it, if that makes sense. It's like they can offer a lot more, I don't know. It's like, the way I visualize it, you guys know I'm such a visual person. I imagine like only having like a crayon color box of like 5 colors. And then you see a therapist and they give you like all like the big pack, like the 82 pack of crayons. I used to love to color. So that's what I feel like it is. It's like we can see some things and we know, but then a therapist like fills it all in and assists us and hands us, no, I think you mean this color, right? And it's like together we can put together the full picture of what's going on with us. Does that make sense? Do you guys like that analogy? You know me. I like the visuals. Oh, Tana. Jessica, I'll read through the chapters after I answer Tana's question. An assigned book plate. Oh, Debbie, I'm so sorry. Unfortunately, the only way to get a signed book plate this time is through Talk Shop Live. And I didn't know that they existed, you guys, until like I did the live stream. Like it took me like a week to get everything set up and then we went live. And I wish I'd known about it when the book launched so that you could all get signed copies. And that's why I wanted to do a tour. Hold on to your books, you guys. I will be doing a tour here soon enough. I'll try to come to as many major cities as possible. We'll try to make that happen ASAP when it's safe. So right now it's only through Talk Shop Live. And unfortunately, that's going to force you to buy another book. I don't expect you to buy multiple books, but I will gladly sign it in person some point in time. I'll be coming your way. Okay. So, okay, let's go through the chapters really quick. Okay. And I'll try to keep an eye. Yeah, Brad, it is hard to write a book, but it's all about planning and preparing ahead, kind of like what I was talking about, like putting all that effort in ahead of time makes it easier. But I usually set a goal of writing like 2 pages a day. And I try to do that 5 days a week. And then it takes me however many months for like, how many pages is this? 227 gets you to the notes. So yeah, I know I'd love to come to Minnesota. Kim, I was supposed to come. I was supposed to come to Minnesota in March of 2020 and then everything exploded. Yes, I'd love to come back to Orlando, Kathy. Oh, hey, Kai, Richmond, Virginia. We love that. I'll try to do my best. Oh, Megan, I'm so sorry you guys have to buy another book to get the signed book plate, but I did send all my signed book plates. I put them in mail first thing this morning. I was at the post office at like 8:30 and they took them. Yes, Jessica, I will be coming to New York and I would love to. We were actually looking at coming to the Gramercy Theater. We'd looked at a bunch of different options. But I want to do like a tour when it's safe and I'm just not sure. We're there yet. And I don't want any of you to feel pressured. just feels bad. Okay, into the chapters and then into more questions. I would love to come to Germany, Tatanka. Okay, so chapter number 1 is our shared trauma, how social media affects our mental health. I really dig into the positives and negatives and how connected we are and how that means that we can actually be more traumatized. But there's also positives, right? We can be more connected, know that we're not alone. There's all that good stuff. Chapter number 2, have I been traumatized? PTSD and what you need to know. Chapter number 3, what can cause PTSD? This is when I dig into big T's and little t's. For all of you out there that thought that PTSD only stems from like these big accidents, maybe being abused your entire life, going to war, or getting in a car accident, that's not really the case. We can have a bunch of little t's that build up and we still struggle with symptoms of PTSD, okay? Chapter number 4, what is dissociation and why can it happen? We talk a lot about that. So many of you shared your stories of how it feels. You guys, this is a great chapter. Chapter 4 I think will be really helpful for people. Chapter 5, what is repeated trauma, complex PTSD and how it's different. Chapter 6, are we sure it's complex PTSD? Remember, I break down like what's BPD and how does that differ from complex PTSD and bipolar disorder and all that good stuff. Yes, Mimi here, it says, does trauma and addiction run in families? Yes, it does, unfortunately, but I dig into that a lot. I talk about in it's kind of chapter 7 and chapter 8. Chapter 8 is all about trauma being passed down and transgenerational trauma. Okay, but let's not. So I said number 6 is, are we sure it's CPTSD? Number 7, chapter 7 is, what are the 4 attachment styles and why trauma is often rooted in childhood? Okay. Yeah, Danielle, of course, I'll do more Q&As. I was actually going to pop over to TikTok after this for just like 20, 30 minutes and hang out. If you guys want to come hang out over there, I like TikTok personally. Okay. Then chapter 8, like I said, can trauma be passed down, transgenerational trauma and its lasting effects? Oh, thanks, Christy. I'm glad my voice is calming. That makes me feel good. Okay, chapter number 9. Don't dare make me humanize my abusers. Don't worry, Glenn. I don't. Chapter 9, it's more about like how it affects us. So don't worry. Why do we feel so scared? The science of trauma memories. That chapter is super cool. And it was initially going to be chapter 4 to give you any idea of how things got moved around here. Chapter 10, how can we recover? The benefits of neuroplasticity, meaning you can teach an old dog new tricks, which I probably say in that chapter at some point, I would believe. Oh, yay, Kai will come hang out. Okay, chapter number 10, so there's 15. Oh, hey, Peace Noman. Chapter 10 says, how can we recover? Oh, wait, no, sorry, I already said that. Benefits of neuroplasticity. Chapter number 11, the foundation of healing. This is when I talk about different trauma treatments. So that's when I talk about vagus nerve stimulation, talk therapy, trauma-focused CBT, schema, somatic experiencing. That chapter was really hard to write. I had to do a ton of research about it. And I'm sure I still missed some types of treatments. And I even say in there, I'm like, there's no way I can name them all. Talk about EMDR, all that jazz. Okay. Chapter number 12, triggers. How to identify what causes our trauma. Because if you guys don't know, triggers can cause us to be re-traumatized and we can get like caught in this loop. Hey, Mau Mau. Hey. Hey, hola, Diego. ¿Cómo estás? I've been practicing my Spanish a little bit lately because people around here speak Spanish. And Alicia, the woman who comes and cleans our house every few weeks, she challenges me to speak it. And I've been trying really hard. So I hope it's getting better. Oh, Pedro, that's a great question. What chapters I talk about coping mechanisms? Honestly, throughout, but I'm almost to it, so just wait. So triggers, how to identify what causes them. Chapter 13, breaking the cycle, avoiding future trauma and triggers. Pedro, that's where I first jump in like heavy into coping skills. And then chapter 14, really into them, like deep. Although they're, like I said, they're throughout. Resilience, building it and keeping it. And the final chapter, chapter 15, building support, how to have happy, healthy relationships. And then there's like the epilogue and notes, all that jazz. Oh, Razor, I used to be fluent in Spanish. I spent a summer in Costa Rica and I studied it through from middle school all the way into college. Because I went to Costa Rica in 2005, I think 5 or 6. And I used to be really good. And then I just stopped speaking it. And then Sean, my husband's from Montreal and is Quebecois. And so a lot of his family speaks French. And so I was like, oh, I should probably learn French. So I got Rosetta Stone for that. And then I completely just, I haven't been doing it. I'm sorry. I'm apologizing mainly to people who, speak other languages, and I should be better. I would love to be like trilingual. That'd be amazing. I know so many of you guys are, speak multiple languages. Oh, Neurotransmissions asks, do you talk about different kinds of trauma, a systemic, racial? I do, not in chapter form. That's a great question. Not in chapter form, but I definitely address it and mainly kind of validate and acknowledge that it's trauma as well. And that is woven in, if anybody is curious, the like racial trauma I talk about in the first chapter because of essentially what has happened in the last year and what has been front of mind for a lot of people. Then I also talk about it when it comes to like transgenerational trauma. There's a lot in there about that type of stuff as well. And just making people hopefully feel heard and understood and again, validated. Okay. Yeah. Shouldn't all over yourself. Exactly, Boris. I do that. I know I should all over it. Okay. Pascal says French Canadian here. French is not an easy language to learn. I know I can understand it because it's similar to Spanish in some ways, but I lose it. It's tricky. Oh yeah. Yeah. Kim, I tried to approve Kim's comment too, but I don't know. We're doing our best. It hides some comments. Okay. Yeah. Mara Rodriguez, great question. It is available for shipping worldwide. You should be able to get it wherever books are sold where you are. But if we're wanting it in another language, when they translate them, I believe that takes a little while. I know that it's already been sold in one other language. You guys, I honestly don't remember, but it wasn't like Spanish or like Chinese. I just know that. But this one, like my first book, Are You Okay? It took it like a year for it to get translated into a ton of different things. So just be patient with us. We'll and let them know like if you're wanting it in that language. And then, sometimes that will push things along. Oh, thank you, Greg. Oh, I'm so glad that my videos and content have been helpful. That's the hope, right? That's the goal, is just to be a resource, to be something. Because I feel like the mental health information in general shouldn't be behind a paywall, right? You should be able to access things from where you're at and be able to, because we often don't know what we don't know, right? Like, how do we even know if we need a therapist or what that means or what does it mean to be traumatized? We often don't know that. And so I'm glad that I could be there. Oh, I thought the puppy was up, but she's just stretching. Okay, KG says, oh yeah, yes, Nelma actually also says, can you order online? Yes, you should be able to. Nelma, you let me know if you can't, but yes, it should be available worldwide online. You don't have to leave it. You can get it from the comfort of your own home. And KG says, Mara Rodriguez, it's available like through Amazon, correct? But also through Target, Barnes and Nobles, anywhere books are sold. So wherever you look for books, or you can just open up a new tab on your computer and just search, Traumatized by Kati Morton, and it should show you where it's available in your area. KG says, would you recommend reading the book if I'm actively doing intense trauma work and therapy? My therapist tells me to not read deep things while doing the work, but might the book be another tool? Yeah, KG, I would definitely, Tana, sorry, thank you. I'll get to that. It could definitely be kind of like a workbook added on to your trauma treatment, but I would bring it to session and work on it with your therapist little by little, because I do think there is an important component when we're doing trauma work to give ourselves a little bit of a break, right? We can get so into that it's like overwhelming, and we can, really struggle to like come out of our stress response, that fight, flight, freeze, fawn feeling, right? We can struggle to get out of that. And so I want to make sure that you're making time to help your system just kind of calm down. And that's probably why your therapist is like, don't get into too deep of stuff. This isn't meant to be triggering in any way, but there are personal stories from people and myself in here. And so I wouldn't want you to be more upset or overwhelmed by it. But I think it could be a really useful tool in therapy, as I talk about like creating a trauma timeline. And again, like coping skills, like the impulse log and all sorts of stuff like that. So yeah. Thank you, Spence. That's so sweet of you. Okay, and Tana, I'm so sorry. I forgot to answer this question. Why did we move to the Austin area? To be completely honest with you guys, we couldn't afford Santa Monica where we lived. We were rent controlled in our apartment and frankly, completely out of space. Like working and living in that apartment we always worked from home, but to like have everything shut down for so long in COVID, I'm sure a lot of you felt this way. Like our apartment felt super small. And we started looking at like condos and houses. It was way too expensive. Even we went out to like Palm Springs and Palm Desert, which if you guys don't know, if you're not from the area, it's like 2 hours out of the city. And it's like its own cute little city, but super expensive. Again, like homes are like $1 million. And then we started looking into Arizona and then up in Washington, where I'm from. And then we had a few friends move to Colorado. And then I had some friends move to Austin. And one of my closest friends lives just outside of Houston. I have another friend that lives in Austin. And 2 other friends of ours had just moved out here. And so we came out to look and fell in love with it. And so, yeah, so that's why we moved. Honestly, LA is just so expensive. And I love Santa Monica. It would always have a such a nice place in my heart, but I can't afford a $4 million house. I know a lot of YouTube creators can. Unfortunately, I didn't get into that business. Oh, thank you, Natalie. That's so sweet of you. Thank you. Yeah, taxes in Texas are okay. They're better for as a company too. But again, we're just a small company, so it's not like we're not talking like, big monies. I'm sure other people like who make millions of dollars are like, it's a lot, and also goes towards social services. And I want, we have like a homeless problem in Los Angeles they need mental health treatment, by the way. And that gets frustrating too, because there's no like detox facilities and treatment facilities, but that is a topic for another day. But that was really hard to watch also as someone who lived in Santa Monica and in LA off like for 20 years almost, or I guess 18 years. So, yes, Jay, it's true. Taxes are more in Texas for property. So it's almost like it didn't really do us any good, but we're happy here. We have a backyard for our little pupper to run around. We have some good friends in the area. Yeah, it's been really nice. Okay, let's see. Iva says, I learned and still from you. More importantly, felt less alone. I'm so glad. And someone cares with my anxiety, depression, and BPD. I'm going to therapy. You were always here. Love you so much. Thank you. Of course. I'm so glad that I could be there when you needed, especially when it comes to like, we feel like we're dealing with multiple things and BPD can be so misunderstood and so stigmatized. I'm just glad that I could be there when you needed. Yes, positive change. You are correct. There's no income tax, I think. Yeah. I'm still learning. We've only been here for a few months, so still learning. The pupper, if she wasn't here, we'll take you. I'll take you on the road. Come on the road with me. There's the pupper. I don't want to wake her. She's being such a good girl. Her name is Roxy and she's the best. So yeah, Sadie girl, you've been watching for a long time. I know, she's so cute. And she has a little bald patch on her leg. It's kind of sad, her little story. I'll be real quick about it. It is a dairy. Oh, Sean said it's a dairy cow. He keeps saying she looks like a dairy cow. And I was like, how rude. But she was born, her mom was a rescue and she was born in the rescue and they all got parvo, which if those of you don't know, it's a really serious issue for puppies and it can kill them. And so only her and one other, her brother, are the only 2 that survived of the litter. And so she's a little survivor. And then she got adopted by a family, total jerks, and like neglected her. And she got ringworm when she was a baby and they didn't treat it for a while. And so she has a little bald patch. The hair is coming back through because she's been treated and I'm putting her cream on it when I'm supposed to, so it'll grow back. But they returned her to the rescue because they were like, oh, she barks too much, which she doesn't. And she like chews a lot and pees in the house. And they're like, because she's a puppy. Like, did you forget what a puppy is? And so luckily her foster mama, Lynn, when she was like returned to the rescue, didn't want to put her back into the pen. So she took her home. And then that's where we found our little sweet girl and took her home. So, Sean, my husband does have a pretty cool name. I see you spell yours correctly too. SEA, and Sean always says is the only way. So we're really glad to have her. We're really glad to be able to give her a good home, our little pupper. Yeah. Of course, Jalissa says, I foster, train, and rehabilitate, and help rescues find forever homes for pups and dogs. Yes, and we'd actually intended on getting an older dog because I know that they don't usually get adopted as often, and it also saves us a little effort, right? You don't always have to potty train them and everything. But she came up in the feed, and we ended up seeing her first instead of this other dog, Missy. We thought about adopting her. And unfortunately, because we were like, maybe we'll adopt two, but then Missy doesn't do well with puppies. And so I just didn't see her because I was like, if we go to see her, I don't know how, it's going to be so hard. So yeah. Mao says her cat's a foster cat, but he has no eyes anymore. What happened? Infection? So sad. Okay, let's see. Charlie Does Film says, do you think it would be worth trying group therapy? Yes. I talk about that in the book and how helpful it is, as I've always considered it for when I go to university, but I'm anxious as I know it's a lot of group discussion. Yes, I think the amazing thing is that, and Anonymous, I'll get to that question in a second. But I think the amazing thing about group therapy is that it reminds us that we're not alone. And I think that's so important. Also, I will tell you, I've been in group therapy myself. As a kid, I was in it. And then when my dad passed away, I also had a group therapy class. This sounds weird, but it was a group therapy class in college that was really beneficial too. But I went into a grief group to help deal with my dad passing away when I was 24. And it was just so healing and helpful to know that like, I'm not losing my mind and like what I'm going through is kind of normal. And I think there is a lot of connection that we're missing now because of COVID. So I do believe wholeheartedly in group therapy. I know it's uncomfortable, but try to push through, try to give it a go. I always tell everybody, give it 3 or 4 tries before you say it's not for you. It can be so life-changing. I really love it. And I'm a huge supporter of it. And I talk about it in the book also and how it relates to trauma. Okay. Oh, that's a good question. It says, hi from Spain. Does YouTube provide statistics of your subscribers by countries? I think it does. Sean would know. I don't really pay attention to the numbers. It's not my thing. And okay, Anonymous had a question. It says, is it a bad sign that my therapist told me she thinks I've been through a trauma when I've never said anything about that? I wouldn't say that's a bad sign, but I would say that they're probably noticing something that you for many years may have stuffed down or thought was normal, right? If we've only been in a traumatic situation or only had maybe emotionally abusive parents or what have you, it can be hard for us to see out of it and to see another way. And we might just think everybody went through that, when in reality, your therapist is like, no, that might be trauma. Like I can't tell you how many of my patients will think they don't have an eating disorder, right? And they'll come into my office and they'll tell me about the things they're doing. They're like, but everybody worries about that, right? And I'm like, sure, everybody is conscious of health and wellness and might consider what they should or maybe shouldn't eat. But most people don't spend all their time thinking about it, trying to avoid certain things or making time for binges or over-exercise or making up, there are limits to it. So your therapist is probably just seeing something that you're not, but I would talk about it. Tell them, I never said anything about this. It's very worrisome to me. Can you tell me what made you think that? It's your treatment. You have every right to ask all the questions that you want. Okay. Spy to Lover. I'm so glad that you have a rescue pup too. It says her old owner dumped him at my house. Isn't that sad? But hey, they were meant to be yours. That's how I feel. Roxy was meant to be ours. She was meant to be at the other house. Okay, one more question. Oh, perfect. Sadie Girl ordered hers on Talk Shop. Those might take an extra minute to get shipped out, only because I sent the book plates off this morning because we had our 3-day weekend in the States. If anybody's not in the States, we had Labor Day on Monday, so no mail goes out. So first thing this morning, I popped them in the mail and they should get there tomorrow. I think they're guaranteed in 2 days. So tomorrow or the next day. And then they'll be shipped out to you. So they'll be placed in the books and shipped. So you should get it by, I'd assume like this time next week at the latest. Okay. Oh yes. And I talk about repressed memories a ton in the book. That's like that whole chapter about the memories, the chapter 9, the science of trauma memories. I talk all about like, what are repressed memories? Can we trust them? How can we work through a trauma if we don't have any memory of it? Very interesting stuff. Hopefully it's really helpful. Okay, one more question and then we're going to scoot. And that is, 2. Sorry, 2. Marina says, being told you were assaulted, but you don't agree. Your opinion. Let them know you don't agree. Ask why. It's okay to ask a therapist or whoever we're seeing, like why they think the way they think. And then you can tell them why you think the way you think. That's part of the relationship and the conversation. It shouldn't be that you're being told to do something, or that you have something. It should be a conversation where we come to an understanding together. I mean, I've had patients over the years not agree with their diagnosis, and I hear them out. And then I tell them my side, and then I give them some resources. And I'm like, do some research on your own, watch, some videos or read this article or whatever, or, search on your own completely, and then come back to me. Sometimes, most of the time they agree with me at that point, but sometimes they don't. And that's okay. We can have a conversation about it, but we have to ask. Okay. Final question is from Taryn, and it says, do you think psychodynamic modalities pair well with other modalities? I think so, because psychodynamic is kind of, I'm trying to think of which it would pair best with. If anybody, and let me get a definition. Because psychodynamic is really like, it's kind of like how your thoughts and feelings, emotions relate to like your early days. Like psychodynamic is like the original, almost like does anybody remember like id, ego, super ego, like from Freud days? They pretty much talk about how everything in your life relates to like past experience. Am I doing it justice, you guys? Does that make sense? And so I believe that as long as we're not doing future focus, like there are treatment options. I don't talk about it in the book because it's not that widely used anymore, but there are treatments and therapies like solution focused therapy, where we're like, we ask questions as a therapist of things like, hey, if you woke up in the morning and your depression was gone or your trauma was gone, how would you know and how would it be different? We focus on like as if the solutions already happened, like we're already through it. And then we work from there, which I know sounds really, really strange, but that wouldn't work if we're going back into our history and pulling from there. But I think most talk therapies, most treatment modalities, when it comes especially to trauma, other than probably too much, I don't know, CBT and DBT could still weave into it nicely as well. It'd be more instructive. So yeah, I think overall, yes, I think that it could really, really be beneficial and could work. Okay, last question, because Angel says, hi, Katie, can you please talk about disenfranchised trauma or grief? I mean, you have to let me know exactly what you mean by that, Angel, because when it comes to like feeling disenfranchised, you just mean like you feel like you don't belong, or you feel like disconnected, or is it you feel like you're not accepted or not part of something? Like you'd have to let me know a little bit about like what you're feeling with regard to that. But I think that is a trauma in general, and processing through, okay, abortions or rape, got you. Yeah, I mean, that is such a trauma, such a traumatic situation. And the truth about it, I really think, is that finding a trauma specialist, someone who can help you talk about it in a real way, process it. Again, remember, talk therapy might not work for all of us. So consider things like medication or EMDR or group therapy, other things too. But I really think finding someone who will really listen and validate is what's going to be the most healing. And especially in situations like that, there are support groups for people who've been sexually assaulted or raped. And I think that could be something that I would really encourage you to connect with. I know one of my good friends, Abba, she works at Kaiser Permanente, but for years she used to work at a safe house for people suffering domestic violence. And they had a ton of groups for things like that. And I'd referred a few patients there back in the day, and it was super helpful for them. That it's obviously doesn't meet at the safe house because nobody can know the location, but they met off campus at another location. And I really think that could be, it is Abba, but her name is spelled ABHA. She's Indian, and just like she said it's like a super common name there. Oh, somebody rang our doorbell. But anyways, yeah, I mean, just finding someone to be able to talk about, and miscarriages. Yeah. Oh, in church settings. Yeah. I think, oh, somebody's here. It sounds like flowers. Maybe. Anyway, sorry. Focus, Katie. Focus. I feel like my favorite lady on TikTok, the what is it? Pinky, what is she? She's like, hello, my friends. She's like, sorry, focus. That's what I feel like. I'm talking like her. But Angel, back to your question. Disenfranchised grief being like things society doesn't recognize or acknowledge or leaves behind. Honestly, I think connecting with a therapist, connecting with a counselor in a group, if you can find one. Oh, wow.
Somebody wrote a book.
Pretty flower. Don't. You guys, look how pretty. Oh, yay. Yay.
Run out the door?
I know, squirrel, right, Tim Treefog? But anyways, back to Angel. I want to wrap this up and then I'm going to go. But finding someone who you can talk to, I think will be really healing and helpful. And that could be anything from a group, that could be a friend, that could be a therapist or a counselor. If you have any clinics in your area that offer free services or anything like that, that's a great thing to look into. I used to work at a place in North Hollywood called the Center for Individual and Family Counseling, and we offered free therapy, group therapy, all sorts of stuff like that. So that could be some resourcing maybe in your area. Or if your area is very, they don't recognize what happened and they try to pretend it didn't happen, then it might be something online. That might be the best way to find the connection that you need and the support that you need. And again, there's things like BetterHelp and Talkspace, and also, also just, people in our community. That's another way to feel connected. Because I really think that disenfranchised, the only way we can combat that is with connection with others who get it. So that would be my recommendation. Okay. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for hanging out with me for this hour. I'm going to hop over to TikTok for just 20, 30 minutes, chitty chat a little bit over there. Enjoy my pretty flowers. I love you all. Thank you so much for the support. Please keep tagging me. Yes, neurotransmission, same, says everyone's doing online therapy right now, myself included. I know. I'm actually in the process of finding one here because I now I'm in a new state. I got to find a new person, but please keep tagging me as you receive your books. I am so excited. Even screen grabs if you bought there's Sean. Sorry. There's screen grabs if you bought. You guys, oh my God. If you bought the Kindle version or the audio version, let me know. Thank you guys so much for all your support and everything you do. Thank you for being so kind, for sharing your stories, for making these books possible. I love you all. Oh, Positive Change is out for delivery. I will have a wonderful rest of your day. If you want to pop over to TikTok, I'll be over there for a little bit. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks for hanging out. Bye, everybody.